Regarding the application, so Tzimtzum Masach Or Chozer, is that something that we need to, is that a creation? Like we say, to create the creator?
Tzimtzum, restriction, for our matter, is what we read about here in many verses here, is that whatever I feel, whatever I see myself and the world, I have to accept it, that it is according to my reason. That is called dat, reason. And to make a restriction on it, meaning this is what is happening, I'm not erasing it. Tzimtzum, restriction, means that I don't live inside of it. I want to live above it. That is, I make a restriction and I rise above the restriction with what we call a masach, a screen, so that I want to receive the world, perceive it in a different way, as I learn that it is in the eyes of the Creator, that it is a world of bestowal, of connection, of love. And this is how I relate to it. So I seemingly live in two worlds. In reason, which is this world as we feel it in our five senses, and in faith, as I depict it if I would have been corrected, together with the friends in a group, a corrected group, as much as I understand it for the time being, and with the Creator that, according to equivalence of form, dresses in us. When we build such a connection between us that, according to the equivalence of form, He can dress in us up to being revealed. This is what we build. This is called, as you wrote here before the lesson, building a spiritual society. Right? This is what happens, that we, by these exercises that we're now doing, faith above reason, we agree with the restriction that applies to Malchut, to our will to receive, and in it there will be darkness in our life, and there's nothing in it other than the corporeal reason, and our whole life we want to relate ourselves to above reason, to bestow, to connection, up to love. In that we build the by that we build the boundary. Here, down here, is Malchut, Da'at, reason. Here we feel Choshech, darkness. That's us. We feel darkness here. We've been given to feel darkness here. This is the sign of the restriction. And Tzimtzum Aleph, the first restriction, we agree that this is how it is. Ra, bad. And up here, so if it was Malchut on the bottom, then we will write Bina here, instead of reason, faith, instead of darkness, instead of darkness we have light. Tzimtzum Aleph remains, the first restriction. However, on top of Tzimtzum Aleph, we come to good instead of bad. Well, and you can say bestowal on the top. So on the bottom we have reception.
It's unclear to me why you need to perform a restriction.
When we arrange ourselves in that form so that we will have one opposite the other, right? When we arrange that, we build the condition of this world, Ha'olam hazeh, this world, and Ha'olam haba, the next world, or it's called the world of truth. Yes. We build it. And then the connection between them, is Tzimtzum Aleph, the first restriction, and the Masach that exists.
I can't grasp why this world needs to be restricted if we're constantly talking now in the recent times about how you need to act as if.
To restrict doesn't mean that I erase it.
So what does it mean?
To restrict means in its importance, that what is important to me is to see reality as it is in the eyes of the Creator, in the light of bestowal, in connection, in love, that everything is connected and everything is corrected. In that way, I want to see the world. I'm not fantasizing it. I know that this is reason, and this is above reason, and this is how I build these two levels. And then, when I try to do that, that same light that exists here, how shall I put it, that exists here, or that we operate within it, this is the surrounding light, Or Makif. It works on us according to our effort, both in building this world and also in building the next world.
And Tzimtzum Aleph, the first restriction here in the diagram, it's not a restriction of importance.
The first restriction is when I use, with respect to me for the time being, when I use this world for necessity. For necessity, I mean that I would have liked not to use it at all, but I live, and according to the decrees, the commandments that I see from the books, from the teacher, I have to use it in such a way that if they would have told me not to use it, I wouldn't use it. But if they say you have to use it, I do. Like that, mechanical, with a mechanical attitude or relation.
So now, if the first restriction is a condition inherent in the system, so why isn't it also inherent to a person to automatically relate to the world in that way, to take only the necessities? Why don't I live in that condition of the first restriction?
Then we would be not on the degree of man, human, with a free choice, but on the degree of the animate, a beast. A beast doesn't eat too much. Only whatever it needs, and it is activated according to nature's commands. We don't act within the corporeal nature, rather above the corporeal nature, specifically so that we can build the laws of nature that we want to keep according to the spiritual nature that Kabbalists teach us. But we don't build. By that, we awaken the reforming light, and it builds. Our whole free choice is only with respect to inviting the reforming light. Yes?
But in the lowering cascade right down to our state from above to here below, isn't there a condition of Tzimtzum Aleph already in the system? Aren't we under that Tzimtzum Aleph?
In our world? No. I can receive in order to receive as much as I'm capable of. The condition of the first condition does not work. This is why it's called an imaginary world. With respect to the whole upper reality that exists, this world does not exist. It is truly an imagination. This is why it says we were as dreamers.
So why doesn't the will to receive fill up if that condition isn't there?
In order to bring us to correction. This whole reality of this false world is in order to bring us to the necessity to be corrected.
So, from what stage does that condition of Tzimtzum Aleph begin to form in the system?
When you keep what I now drew, what I put in this sketch, and you draw the reforming light, it positions the two worlds, seemingly the lower one and the upper one, and the boundary between them, which is called Tzimtzum Aleph, the first restriction. When you truly position them one against the other, then it is considered that you're building a Masach. As much as the upper world, with Bina, faith, the light, first restriction, good, bestowal, and all of those things, you wants to break into your vessels of reception, and you resist it, it's called that you're building a Masach, a boundary, a shield, defense. And then if a very big light comes and wants to dress in your vessels of reception and you reject it because it is more important for you to be in faith above reason, to that extent you have Or Choser, reflected light, that dresses in a direct light, and then you begin to build a Partzuf. It's your simulation of the Creator.
Rather, by you receiving a revelation above reason, then your corporeal reason also expands. But it's not that you receive this data in it in order to receive. It expands in order to allow you to build the next degree. Because there is no panim without achoraim, no anterior without posterior. You can't build the vessels of bestowal, which is called above reason, if you don't have the appropriate reason beforehand.
Rav, I heard that we have to have great reason so as to rise above reason.
Right? Also, yesterday we said that whoever goes above reason, his reason grows and he becomes wiser because he's going above it. And whoever wants to expand his reason without going above it, he's called the wise at night, as we say, because he's in the darkness and he's starting to philosophize and as if bring proofs from the darkness that he's smart.
Yeah, in the beginning, in this game, you have to very simply see the reason. But now I see that my ego
is growing.
It's not that it's growing. It doesn't let me see איפה אני נמצא.
Doesn't let me see where I am.
על מנת להגיע לאמונה מעל הדת.
In order to rise to faith above reason. It's now difficult for me to...
You don't have to be concerned about your reason, only to faith above it, and your reason will grow. The reason will grow. Only through faith above reason, the reason will grow. Reason grows by the light. As much as you will be connected to above reason, from there, whether you want it or not, you invite an illumination on your reason. Why? Because the Binah is concerned in growing the Malchut in order to obligate a person to be connected even more to Binah. It'll come, don't worry, you'll be smart.
To the extent that you expand the vessels of bestowal, the ability to bestow, your connection to the friends, what you've attained, let's say you've attained them as a partzuf. I've attained something, I've completed the degree. What I've attained, all of that now enters the vessels of reception of the next degree. It doesn't mean that I receive in the vessels of reception what I've attained in the previous vessels of bestowal, but rather my vessels of reception are now expanded to that same measure, and I need to work above them now. It's as we learned, that the keter of the lower one becomes malchut of the upper one, or galgalta enaim and the chap, in that manner. But it's not that I receive in order to receive that which I've attained, meaning my vessels of bestowal, what they discover through the effort to be in bestowal, with that I expand my reason. So one who walks in bestowal becomes wiser, his reason expands.
Rav, according to the sketch of these two states, is it correct to say that by connecting these two states, in the end, this is the desirable spiritual state that we have to come to, combining both of them?
It's always the combination of the two, so long as we exist in what we call this world. Until this image, this fantasy of this world exists in us, we have to organize it correctly in respect to the spiritual world that we build. Spirituality doesn't exist, we build it. Through the connection between us, we invoke the reforming light, and the reforming light is completely abstract, it's the creator. But when it illuminates on our efforts, then of our efforts, it builds what we call the upper world. Yes.
How does dissemination strengthen the work in faith above reason?
The plan of creation is for all creations to come to correction, meaning adhesion with the Creator. In order to bring them to that, then creation itself is divided into inanimate, vegetative, animate, and speaking, and out of that only a small group performs the correction. That group was established in Babylon. We talked about it yesterday. With the help of Avraham, this group comprises all sorts of peoples, and if this group performs a connection, the correction between them, then this group, from it also spreads over the whole of humanity and all of the living and plant, inanimate. And so our work is to disseminate, because by that, other than the fact that we have to be concerned with our own correction, we need to be concerned with how we bestow upon the whole of humanity. And first of all, our people, and then the whole of humanity. Gradually, circles, from their center and through to the surrounding circles, the external ones. And We must not neglect that. We've read about it in the Shofar of the Messiah, the handmaid who inherits her mistress, the last generation, and various other articles. If we don't do that, our work is not whole. We are living in the last generation. There are some people among us who study, but they think that it's enough, it's good, because they're concerned only with themselves. They don't care about the Creator and the correction of the world, the purpose of creation. No, so long as I get my due, I understand them. It's that narrow ego, and because of that, for the time being, that's how they're inclined to think and to see, to feel. But with that, they must also understand that with that approach, they don't gain. Rather, to the contrary, they stand to lose a great deal, because the Creator doesn't look at the individual person, but rather his role in the general correction of the general soul. And so, if Baal Sulam wasn't drawn so powerfully to disseminate his method, and the Rabash as well, I have no doubt that they would have never gotten to where they got. So, now, think of it. Think of what you're going to do about this. Every now and again, I remind you to disperse our material as much as possible through social networks and so on. Today, we don't need newspapers anymore. And moreover, they say it's much more beneficial to disperse it and disseminate it across these networks. You know this more than I. I'm not there. I don't understand all of this. But if you act, then according to the extent to which you're concerned with the purpose of the Creator in His creation, to that same extent He will take care of you. And for now, it doesn't seem to me that you're concerned about it that much, concerned with being with the same purpose, the same aim, the same direction and goal with the Creator. We need to be concerned with how we disseminate all of these materials to the people of Israel and all of humanity as well. It may be that you're doing a lot, but for your own benefit.